What does it feel like when money breaks? You walk to the bakery at 10 a.m. and a loaf is 250 marks. By noon, it's 280. By the time you reach the counter, the chalkboard changes again. Your paycheck arrives in a sack. You sprint to buy anything that holds value: flour, nails, soap, before the price doubles tomorrow. Wheelbarrows are for cash, not bread. And then one morning, your savings, your insurance, your plan for the future, gone. Who wrote this script? Weimar Germany. Why should you care? Because what looked like chaos followed a playbook: choices, pressures, and reflexes that any society can repeat. This is Dollar's Dance, in which we rig the money with simple stories to reveal the truth, and it's all about money. Here's the twist. Weimar didn't print money by accident. It followed a pattern: war debts, political promises, an external squeeze, a crippled tax system, a central bank turned fire hose, a population that stops believing the numbers on the notes. Then, suddenly, discipline, a new anchor, and the fastest stabilization in modern history. If you think hyperinflation is just about too much money, you'll miss the real levers. Weimar shows you where they are. First, set the stage. Before the disaster, there was a decision. In 1914, Germany suspended the gold standard to fight World War I. Instead of raising taxes to pay for the war, Berlin sold war bonds to its citizens, patriotic IOUs, betting that victory would make debt painless. Victory never came. The Kaiser fell. The empire became a republic. The new state inherited a mountain of debt and a wounded economy. Then came reparations, obligations to pay the victors in gold or foreign currency, a bill denominated in something Germany couldn't T-print. Playbook move one: promise now, pay later. Finance war and peace with debt, not taxes. Suspend hard anchors, gold convertibility. Rely on central bank credit to bridge the gap. After the war, the math got worse. The tax base was shattered. Production was disrupted. Political violence and strikes were common. The new government extended social benefits and pensions to keep the peace. Revenues fell behind. Deficits grew. The Reich financed itself by issuing short-term bills to the central bank. The more it borrowed, the more the mark fell. The weaker the mark, the higher import prices climbed, feeding more inflation, feeding more deficits. A doom loop, quiet at first, then loud. By 1919, the exchange rate, the heartbeat of confidence, told the story. Before the war, $1 US cost about 4.2 marks. In 1921, it was 90. In early 1923, thousands. By November 1923, a dollar cost 4.2 trillion marks. That is not a typo. 4.2 trillion. Prices were doubling in days, then hours. The money stopped working as a store of value. People learned to be fast or be poor. Playbook move 2, break the fiscal spine. Let tax collection lag behind prices. Index promises, wages, benefits to chase inflation. Fill the gap with central bank credit. The central player was the Reichsbank, led by Rudolf Havenstein. He wasn't a cartoon villain. He was in a tragic way a legalist. The law told the Reichsbank to discount eligible bills and support the payment system. The government and firms brought more paper. The bank obliged. As prices rose, they needed more paper. The bank obliged again. Printing presses ran around the clock, not merely by choice, but because stopping them would mean missed payrolls, unpaid civil servants, a government in default. Havenstein believed the bank's duty was to meet demand for money at the going prices. But the act of meeting demand at ever higher prices created higher prices. The hose fed the fire. Then came the spark that turned a blaze into a firestorm. The Ruhr. In January 1923, France and Belgium occupied Germany's industrial heartland, claiming reparations in kind, coal, steel, after Germany fell behind on deliveries. Berlin told Ruhr workers to resist passively. Don't cooperate, don't produce, don't deliver. The state promised to pay them anyway. Tax revenues shrank, output fell, costs soared. The Reichsbank financed the resistance. Everyone got money, no one made goods. Inflation turned hyper. Playbook move 3, pay workers not to work. Political crisis destroys output. The state monetizes wages and subsidies. Scarcer goods meet more money, prices explode. This is where the stories live. Wages were paid twice a day. Spouses waited at factory gates to sprint to stores. Restaurants stopped printing menus. People bartered. Shoes for potatoes, coal for meat. Cities and companies issued Notgeld, emergency money, with local landmarks and animals on the notes. Children built kites from banknotes. It wasn't just too much money. It was the collapse of confidence that the price on any tag meant anything tomorrow. Playbook Move 4. Unmoor expectations. Index wages. Suppliers preemptively raise prices. Foreign currency becomes money. The local currency becomes tinder. People spend the hot potato, a velocity spiral. The caring middle, the clerks, teachers, pensioners, was crushed. Savings vanished. Life insurance became wallpaper. Borrowers who took loans before the spiral, farmers, industrialists with fixed debts, became kings. They were paid in confetti. The moral universe inverted. Work and thrift felt punished. Speculation and debt felt blessed. And with every new note, the legitimacy of the republic thinned. At the code level, the mechanism was simple and savage. The government spent more than it taxed. The central bank financed the gap. The exchange rate fell as markets demanded more marks per foreign currency. Import prices rose. Domestic sellers raised prices to match. Workers demanded and got higher nominal wages. Higher wages raised costs, requiring more financing, requiring more notes. It was the paper version of a self-licking ice cream cone. You could stand there and argue about responsibility, or you could change the rules. And then, suddenly, Germany did. Playbook Move 5. Stop the fire, don't starve the survivors. In late 1923, 3 decisive acts snapped the spiral. Act 1, end passive resistance in the Ruhr. The government, under Gustav Stresemann, stopped paying workers to strike and resumed reparations deliveries. Output returned. It was a political risk that reopened the economic artery. Act 2, fiscal reset, emergency taxes, cuts to subsidies, a campaign to collect arrears. Not pain-free, but a clear message. The state would live within its means at new, realistic prices. Act 3. New money with a hard rule. In November 1923, Germany introduced the Rentenmark, overseen by a new currency commissioner, Hjalmar Schacht. It was not backed by gold, Germany had none to spare, but by mortgages on land and industrial property, a claim on the productive base itself. The key wasn't the collateral mythology, it was the rules. A fixed, limited issue. 1 Rentenmark would equal 1 trillion paper marks and be treated as equal to 1 gold mark, about 4.2 per US dollar. The old parity. The Reichsbank stopped discounting everything that moved. Printing presses slowed. Shops posted prices in Rentenmarks and kept them. People exhaled. Why did it work? Not because the paper changed color, because the behavior changed. The government stopped forcing money into an empty economy. The central bank stopped validating every price with new notes. A credible anchor, limited issuance, and a clear exchange rate stopped the velocity spiral. People accepted the new story about money because the old story had become unbearable. A year later, the Dawes Plan restructured reparations and opened the door to foreign loans, especially from the United States. The Reichsbank's independence was strengthened. Confidence, that fragile currency, started to accumulate interest again. Hyperinflation ended as fast as it had begun. But the scars remained. The middle class never forgot. Political extremism found fertile ground in people who felt history had robbed them twice, first by war, then by money. The playbook ended the fire. It didn't heal every wound. So, what exactly is Weimar's hyperinflation playbook? The moves that break money and the moves that fix it? Breaking money? 1. Outsource pain to the future. Finance extraordinary spending with debts and central bank credit rather than taxes. 2. Lose or lock up your supply side. War, occupation, policy. Choices that stop production turn money into bids on fewer goods. 3. Let the central bank become the cashier for everyone. Eligible bills becomes any bill. 4. Destroy the tax anchor. Collect slowly in a fast economy. Index promises, but not revenues. 5. Normalize indexing and preemptive price hikes. Turn inflation from a shock into a habit. 6. Denominate obligations in foreign units you cannot print. Chase dollars with marks until the marks are meaningless. Fixing money. 1. Restore production. End policies that pay for inaction. Open the spigot for goods, not just cash. 2. Balance the budget at new prices. Tax, cut, and collect enough to stop relying on the printer. 3. Change the unit. Issue a new currency with a hard, credible limit. Tie it to something people believe. Gold parity, land liens, strict law. 4. Build an institution that says no. Empower a central bank to refuse the next political impulse without being replaced tomorrow. 5. Restructure unpayable promises. Move reparations and debts into maturities and terms reality can meet. 6. Communicate relentlessly. Make the rule simple. This is the money, this is the limit, this is the path. Let's zoom back into the human moment because that's where the lesson lands. A shopkeeper, burned twice by overnight price jumps, holds back goods. A farmer, offered trillion-mark notes for eggs, insists on coal instead. A landlord, forbidden to raise controlled rents, demands side payments to survive. A factory pays wages in advance so workers can buy bread before lunch. Money breaks, and barter sneaks in through cracks wherever it's useful. Hyperinflation isn't just a statistic. It's an agreement that falls apart in 1,000 daily negotiations. And the day it ends isn't a magic sunrise. It is the morning you go to the bakery and the price on the chalkboard is the same as yesterday. The cashier smiles like nothing happened. You walk home slowly, with bread in one hand and disbelief in the other. Was Weimar inevitable? No. It was a chain reaction with many places to cut the fuse. Germany could have taxed more during the war instead of betting on victory. It could have faced hard choices earlier rather than paying for a political calm with paper. It could have negotiated reparations sooner instead of provoking occupation. The Reichsbank could have set tighter collateral rules and let more firms fail rather than finance everything. But that's the point of a playbook. It shows you the moves you're likely to make when the heat rises. It also shows you how hard it is to do the unpopular, necessary thing in time. What about the stories you've heard? They used banknotes as wallpaper. True, paper marks were cheaper than patterned rolls. People burned money for heat. True in places. Coal was pricier than notes. Wheelbarrows of cash? Yes. And thieves sometimes dumped the cash and stole the wheelbarrow. These aren't jokes. They're parables about what money is and what it isn't. Money is a shared belief backed by institutions and production. When belief shatters and production stalls, no signature on a note can restore it by itself. Does Weimar map to today? Not one-to-one. Modern advanced economies issue debt in their own currencies, tax more efficiently, and have deeper, more flexible financial systems. But the forces rhyme. Fiscal dominance, when the budget needs override the bank's prudence, still stalks the stage. Supply shocks, war, pandemic, energy, can squeeze real output while governments try to hold nominal demand together. Central banks can become dealers of last resort, buying assets to keep the pipes open and then struggle to exit. Expectations matter. Trust is slow to build, fast to burn. The warning from Weimar isn't printing equals hyperinflation. It's printing plus collapse of supply, plus shattered fiscal anchors, plus politicized money, plus lost confidence equals something you cannot control. And its promise is the flip side, that institutions and rules can stop the spiral if leaders act fast and convince people to believe again. One more scene. November 1923. Hjalmar Schacht stands over a desk covered in new notes. They're plain. They don't make promises about gold. They promise something harder, limits. Outside, a city pries itself back from panic. For weeks, prices don't move. People stop running. The baker writes a price in the morning and goes home on time. In a year, the world will praise German stability again. In a decade, the ghosts will return wearing different costumes. But for a brief, instructive moment, a country learned how to end hyperinflation in weeks. Stop paying for nothing. Stop printing for everything. Anchor money to rules people believe. When money fails, it's not the paper that lies. It's the story behind it. Weimar rewrote the story twice. Once as tragedy, once as rescue. If you want to know whether your own money is safe, ask, are we paying today's bills with tomorrow's promises? Are we rewarding output or subsidizing inactivity? Is the institution that makes our money able to say no? Do people trust that the number on the note means the same thing next week? That's the real playbook, not numbers on a chart, moves on a chessboard. Subscribe if this provided you a new perspective on when money is losing its way and how to get it back on track. The solutions lie in history. I'll let you know where to look.